Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to welcome you all today. Today, we're going to explore a fascinating story called In the Kingdom of Fools. This is the first slide, the cover of our presentation, so I'll keep it simple. We'll be discussing some interesting lessons about wisdom and decision-making. So, let's get started and see what this story has in store for us. Today, we're going to look at the contents of our presentation. On this slide, you'll see the outline of what we'll be discussing. We start with the introduction, setting the stage for the story. Then, we move on to the main story where a guru and disciple see the city, which is a key part of the lesson. Next, we have the title, which ties everything together and gives us a focus. After that, we'll explore the message, what the story is really about. Then comes the synopsis, giving a brief overview of the narrative. We also have a segment where the guru leaves the city but the disciple stays behind, highlighting an important lesson. Following that, there's a video explanation to help visualize the story better. Then, we'll read and enjoy the text together, engaging with the material directly. Next, we examine the guru's trick, which offers insight into cleverness and wisdom. Finally, we look at the meanings of words and phrases to deepen our understanding. This outline helps us see how all these parts connect and contribute to the overall theme of the presentation. Today, I want to talk about a fascinating folktale called In the Kingdom of Fools. This story really highlights the dangers that come with foolish people. It also shows us how difficult it can be to manage those who lack wisdom. The key message here is that only wise and calm individuals can effectively handle foolishness. In this story, there's a kingdom where the king and his ministers are actually fools. They've reversed the natural order of day and night, which leads to chaos. They punish anyone who breaks their strange laws, making life even more confusing. A learned guru and his disciple arrive in this foolish kingdom. They're clever and calm, and they quickly realize that everyone is doing chores after sunset and sleeping during the day, completely opposite of what's normal. What happens next is quite interesting. A series of events unfold that ultimately lead to the downfall of the foolish king and his ministers. The story teaches us that wisdom and calmness are crucial in managing chaos and foolishness. Overall, this folktale connects to our broader theme, highlighting how wisdom is essential in leadership and how foolishness can lead to downfall if not managed properly. Today, I want to talk about the story In the Kingdom of Fools. This story is set in a kingdom ruled by a king who is quite foolish, along with his silly minister. But what's really interesting is that the people in this kingdom are also quite foolish because they obey even the most ridiculous orders given by their king. All the action happens within this strange kingdom, and what makes it truly a kingdom of fools are the various episodes that highlight how innocent people get caught up in unfair and nonsensical justice. These examples show us why this kingdom is considered foolish, because their sense of justice and decision-making is completely skewed. As we go through this story, keep in mind how these foolish actions reflect broader themes about wisdom, obedience, and the consequences of blindly following authority. It really helps us understand the importance of critical thinking and common sense in society. Let's talk about the message behind this folktale. It actually delivers two important lessons. First, it shows us that we should be cautious around foolish people because falling into their trap can lead to suffering. The second lesson is about how to deal with foolishness. It's not through arguing or logic, but through wisdom. In the story, the guru doesn't try to convince the foolish king of his mistake by reasoning. Instead, he uses flattery and cleverness to persuade the king that the new stake was lucky. This smart approach not only saves his disciple's life, but also helps rid the kingdom of a foolish king and silly minister. And the interesting part? As a result, the guru ends up becoming the next king, and his disciple takes the position of minister. This story really highlights that wisdom often wins over foolishness, and sometimes a clever approach can change everything. It ties into the overall theme of how wisdom can be a powerful tool in navigating challenges and difficult personalities. Let's look at the synopsis of this story. In the Kingdom of Fools, the king and the minister are portrayed as being quite foolish. They make the bizarre decision to reverse everything, changing night into day and day into night. Imagine how confusing that must be for everyone living there. They also order people to work during the night and sleep during the day, which is opposite of what we would normally do. And to make sure everyone follows these strange rules, they threaten death for anyone who disobeys. Naturally, out of fear, the people comply with these orders. This obedience makes the king and the minister happy, as they see their orders being followed. The key idea here is how foolishness and fear can lead to chaos, and how those in power can manipulate others when they act irrationally. This story connects to the larger theme of the presentation by illustrating how foolish decisions, especially when driven by arrogance or ignorance, can disrupt normal life and lead to unintended consequences. It reminds us of the importance of wise leadership and rational thinking in any society. Today, I want to share a story about a guru and his disciple who arrived in a city and observed something quite unusual. During the day, everything was eerily quiet, no activity, no movement. It was as if everyone was asleep, which was surprising to them because cities are usually bustling with life. They wandered around until evening, and then, suddenly, the city came alive. People woke up and began their nightly routines, working, trading, doing their business. What caught their attention next was something fascinating. The prices of all items were the same. They all cost just a single dadu. Imagine that, a whole market where everything is priced equally. This struck the guru and disciple as quite amusing and intriguing. It made the guru realize that this city was truly a kingdom of fools, where logic and normalcy seemed turned upside down. This story highlights how appearances can be deceiving, and how sometimes what seems bizarre might reveal deeper truths about society's collective mindset. It ties into our overall theme of understanding human behavior and perceptions, reminding us to look beyond the surface and question what we see. So, in this part of the story, the guru makes a significant decision to leave the city of fools, a place perhaps filled with distractions and ignorance. He asks his disciple to accompany him, to leave behind that environment. However, the disciple chooses to stay, mainly because he's comfortable, especially because of the cheap food available there. The guru advises him that fools are unpredictable. They can be unpredictable and unreliable. But the disciple, perhaps driven by convenience or attachment, doesn't pay much attention to this advice. He stays behind, and as time goes on, he continues eating to his heart's content. What happens? Well, he ends up becoming very fat, which is a clear consequence of his actions and choices. This story highlights an important lesson. Sometimes, our attachments or complacency can lead to undesirable outcomes. It ties into the overall theme of mindfulness and the importance of making wise choices, especially when guided by wisdom rather than comfort or convenience. So, here we see a clever trick by the guru. The disciple suddenly remembers his guru, who appears right away, and they begin to fight. Now, interestingly, each of them wants to be executed first. The guru then explains a fascinating idea to the king. Whoever dies first at the stake would be reborn as the king of the country, and the one who dies next would become the minister. The king and the minister, after hearing this, decide to take their places in the execution line. So the next morning, both are executed, and surprise, who are their replacements? The guru and the disciple, now king and minister. What's important here is how they use this scenario to challenge old, foolish rules and ideas about power and status. Instead of clinging to traditional authority, they see an opportunity for renewal and change. This story illustrates how clever thinking and a willingness to question the status quo can lead to a fresh start. It ties into the larger theme of the presentation. Sometimes, breaking the old rules is the key to growth and transformation. Let's explore the meanings of some key words and phrases. First, till refers to the process of raising crops by plowing and fertilizing the land. It's essential for farming and growing food. Next, a wrongdoer is someone who commits acts that are immoral or illegal, highlighting the importance of moral behavior. When someone is guilty, it means they've committed an offense, crime, or violation, especially against moral principles. The word distracted describes someone who finds it difficult to concentrate or pay attention to something, which can happen for many reasons. A disciple is a follower or pupil of a teacher, leader, or philosopher, emphasizing the importance of learning and mentorship. To compensate means to give someone something in recognition of a loss, suffering, or injury. It's about making things right. An accusation is a statement that claims someone has done something morally wrong or illegal. Execution refers to the legal punishment of killing someone, a serious and often controversial topic. The word damned is used to express anger towards someone or something, often in a strong or emotional way. Impatient describes someone who wants something to happen immediately, showing their desire for quick results. Vision can mean a mental image of the future or a goal, and when things are complicated, they are difficult to understand or solve. A dream is a series of thoughts, images, or emotions occurring during sleep. Sneaked means to do something secretly or quietly, often to avoid being caught. An accused is a person or group charged with a crime and standing trial. Jingling describes a light metallic ringing sound, like the noise of coins or keys. An ascetic is someone who lives a simple life, avoiding worldly pleasures, often for spiritual reasons. To scrape is to remove or rub off something, often with a rough object. Sometimes we face a difficult situation caused by our own unwise behavior, which can lead to a culprit, the person responsible for a crime or misdeed. When someone inherited something, they received money, property, or possessions from a deceased relative. Postponed means to delay something to a later date, while mourned is to feel or show sorrow for someone's death. As mentioned earlier, distracted can hinder concentration, making it hard to focus. Clamor is a loud complaint or demand, often expressing discontent or urgency. Pursuing refers to carrying out work or following a goal. To plead is to argue a case in court, trying to convince the judge or jury. Acting promptly means doing something immediately or without delay. Sometimes, situations are complicated or difficult, requiring careful thought. Bailiffs are law officers who enforce court orders. To persuade is to convince someone to see things your way. Impaling involves killing someone by fixing them on a stake, a very harsh form of execution. Evidence is anything that makes a belief or claim clear or convincing. A mystery is something strange or unexplained that invites curiosity. Finally, when people panicked, they are overwhelmed by sudden fear or anxiety, often leading to irrational actions. Understanding these words helps us better grasp the themes of morality, justice, and human behavior that are central to our overall discussion. Let's take a moment to discuss the video explanation. In this part of the presentation, I want to highlight how the video complements and reinforces the key concepts we've covered so far. The video serves as a visual summary, making complex ideas easier to understand by illustrating them in action. It emphasizes the main points we've discussed, like the importance of innovation and strategic thinking. Watching it helps solidify your understanding and see how these ideas apply in real-world scenarios. Overall, this video is a crucial tool that ties everything together and enhances your learning experience.